Ready, I'm ready.
Okay, welcome everybody. This is Live at 5 UK time. We're going to be talking about the narcissist and scapegoat relationship. With me, I've got the lovely Christina. I'm pointing up because that's where I see her. But I think this recording is going to be recording the speaker. So you'll just have full screen of whoever's talking. So Christina, just say a quick hello.
Hello.
See, there she was, briefly, kaboom, on the screen, and disappears again like magic as soon as I start talking. Right, so today, this subject, this narcissism thing, was brought up by a client of mine because she was a little bit unclear about the difference between a narcissist and someone with narcissistic personality disorder. The short answer to this, right, is a narcissist is a person who exhibits some narcissistic tendencies or traits, whereas someone with the disorder is right out there on the extreme end. In my life, I've had one of each. A friend, female friend, who definitely had some narcissistic traits going on, hence the reason why I decided one day that she was toxic and I couldn't be doing with it anymore. And one who was an extreme end, probably could get diagnosed with it. I'm even reluctant to say the word boyfriend at this point. It was a kind of semi-romantic relationship. Anyway, we'll get there. But this narcissistic thing is all to do with that grandiosity, that constant need for admiration and the empathy of others. Yeah, it's almost like the world does not exist unless they're in it, kind of thing. While it's important to note that I am not medically qualified sufficiently to, formally diagnose narcissistic personality disorder. Yeah, I'm not stupid, I can spot them. But there's, I kind of looked up on Tinternet the main things to look out for. And there are, on my note sheet, oh Lord, 9 of them. So we'll start off with that sense of self-importance, that grandiosity. They will exaggerate their achievements, their talents, their abilities, and like I said earlier, that value in the world. They honestly believe that they are special and therefore deserve that special treatment. This can easily go into preoccupation of sort of like a fantasy world where they have unlimited success and power and beauty and ideal love, and they daydream about how amazing their achievements are and having the perfect partner, which is where it got scary for me because I was being molded into that perfect partner. But at the same time, this need for excessive admiration comes from their own deep lack of and their fragile self-esteem. So they're constantly seeking attention and praise and validation because they need it. And it's weird because on one hand, you're thinking about somebody who, thinks they're God's gift. And on the other hand, it's someone so fragile with their own self-esteem that they need that constant reassurance. The thing that really kind of upset me about my narcissistic-ish friend was her sense of can't say the word, entitlement. Yeah. She believed, regardless of her reasons, that she was entitled to like special treatment, special privileges. She would park badly because she was lazy. She would treat me like a piece of shit. And I'd let her do it because, well, I don't know what the because was, but as far as it was concerned, she expected me to meet her needs. And so when I said, well, actually, I need you to meet my needs, this is a friendship, it got a bit weird because a narcissist will often try and like exploit the scapegoat. Yeah. And this is lovely that I've brought in the scapegoat here, because without a scapegoat, there is no narcissist. They become powerless. And in the mind of the scapegoat who's stepping out of that role, them and their pull just disappear in a puff of logic. It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. Narcissists take advantage of others, though. They will exploit everyone around them, and they do not give 2 flying about that person's feelings or their boundaries. They have no empathy. They struggle to understand or relate to emotions. You know, when I said to this female friend of mine, look, you're hurting me, it was like, oh, it's only because you want to be better than me. And then she accused me of being a narcissist. That was the moment the penny dropped for me personally, because she continued to dismiss and invalidate my feelings for the rest of that telephone conversation. And at the end of that telephone conversation, you know what? I was so done that I actually blocked her number right then. Because having been in that sort of semi-romantic relationship and seeing how badly that ended, I didn't want this relationship to go that far. And it was obvious to me that it was. And I feel honestly well shot of her. She was often envious of me, and at the same time wanted me to kind of think that, you know, I only achieved XYZ because she was there to back me up. And both of the narcissists in my life have this kind of arrogance, this kind of, it's so sticky, this arrogance, that you can't even get past it. You can't even talk them down from it. Their superior attitudes, they're condescending, consciously condescending, and it drove me nuts. But I'm going to say at this point, there was quite a period in that relationship when it didn't drive me nuts, when I actually believed that he was saying these things to me to make my life better. And yeah, the last thing that it said on Tinternet was that narcissists struggle to maintain healthy relationships. The reason being that when the scapegoat, or the person that they're putting down, or the people that they're putting down, wake up, they struggle to maintain the relationship because the other person goes, not having it, not having this, no more. It's important though to remember that individuals with that actual diagnosed narcissistic personality disorder can display all of those behaviors in varying degrees. There's not one size fits all narcissist list. And you may find that the narcissist in your life has a couple of special little talents that they reserve just for you. Formal diagnosis, as I said, needs a qualified mental health professional. But having personally experienced a friend and a boyfriend, I still struggle to even say it. I can see it now. And that relationship did not end pretty. In fact, neither of those relationships ended pretty, because I went from being strong to being crushed to being strong again. And anyone who's out there who wants to talk through this kind of stuff, I'm not going to be there to knock you down because you're taking this from someone. All I'm going to do is hold out a hand and lift you up. Because my role in both of those relationships was to hold the shame and hold the pain and hold the inadequacy that those people couldn't hold themselves. In the romantic kinda relationship that I was in, I was not allowed to see my old friends, probably because they would have called me out on it. He decided what I would wear. Seriously, he would lay my clothes out for me like I was a 7-year-old. And when I went to the hairdressers, but my hairdresser was lovely and told him to cry off. But he actually came to the hairdressers to tell the stylist how to cut my hair. Yeah, I know. And all the way through that relationship, I was really confused by that behavior. He moved into my home from a stinky little converted fishing boat that literally did stink. It was horrible. He wasn't even allowed to see his son overnight in that place. And yet when he moved in with me, his boy, from another relationship, obviously, had his own room. And yet in his eyes, as far as he was concerned, I owed my entire wonderful life to him being in it. And the moment I saw that my role in his life was not good for me, was toxic for me, I literally told him it was over. And it took me a year of sleeping on an airbed on the lounge floor, a lot of money I gave him, and in the end, a little troop of policemen to finally free me. And it felt like escape. It literally felt like escape. So I went through it the hard way. But I just wanted to give everybody in my group and everybody in my, my little world, my little coaching world, the opportunity to meet Christina. Because the cool thing about this woman is that she's got a load of trauma-informed training like I have. She'll probably tell you about it when she's ready to give you an intro. Wind yourself up, Christina, you're nearly on. So she'll tell you what her background is. And I've got 4 of what I can describe as the most pointy narcissist relationship questions to give to her. So without any further ado, Christina, tell us a little bit about yourself, darling.
Thank you so much, first of all, Tanya, for having me here. It's my favorite subject, and I'm not going to lie, it's also a bit triggering. So I'm a certified relationship coach, and I help women who are survivors of toxic relationships recover so they can trust again and attract healthier, more fulfilling relationships. I've had a very similar experience to your story, Tanya, with friends and with romantic partners. A few romantic partners. My ex-husband was, I liked how you made the distinction between a person who actually has been diagnosed with NPD, narcissistic personality disorder, and a person who has various traits, like it's being on the spectrum. We all tend to have selfish tendencies, but the spectrum can fluctuate, okay? The most common concerns I hear from a woman that I speak to every day are about 2-3 questions that they're involved with romantic partners that are narcissists. One of them is, why is it so hard to leave them? The other question I get is, why do I keep going back even though I've had so much, experienced so much abuse for them? And why do I still feel like I love him, that I have feelings for him? So I just want to share 3 reasons to this, because the most important thing to remember about leaving your narcissist, and the first step, which I'll get into, is to educate yourself. The first step is to educate yourself, because a lot of these women, as well as myself, not now, but back then, we tend to have like a mask on, a mask of denial. So the way you remove that denial is by educating yourself. So
that's a really important thing to do, is like, read stuff.
Read stuff.
Not only reading books, but like, read stuff like book. I mean, there are books about it. I was saddened to see that that Tina Turner has passed away, and her relationship with Ike. Yes, I know. Yes, she's passed away. At like
when did that happen?
I think it was like 2 days ago.
I haven't heard that. I loved Tina Turner.
Oh, there's so much, seriously, there is so much amazing stuff that has hit places like Amazon, all of those
I didn't know she
those
died.
biography books that people have been holding on to until the last minute are now out there. And her relationship with Ike Turner was very much
there's a movie out, if for those who want to see it. It's quite disturbing.
I haven't seen the movie. I've read her autobiography. But that was literally the first question I was going to ask you, which is, how do you advise your clients to leave a romantic relationship with a narcissist?
Well, the goal is delete, block, and remove. That's the goal. But as long as the victim is under the narcissist spell, you can't just tell them to delete, block, and remove. It's extremely difficult, and it's extremely difficult because these types of toxic relationships have addictive tendencies. So basically, the dynamic between a narcissist and the victim, which is usually, guys, I'm going to say it, I put myself in here, people pleasers, over accommodators, codependents. So they search, they attract people with low self-esteem because because of their people-pleasing tendencies, because of their over-accommodating tendencies. And basically, the similarities is that they both have extremely low self-esteem. Okay, so what happens is, because narcissists are profusely charming, they're very interesting, they're enlivening, and interesting to be around, they reel you in with their charm. And in the beginning, they can love bomb you and show you, they can even show you kindness and care and compassion. But the minute they have you hooked, that is all replaced with criticism, coldness, and abuse.
Absolutely.
And it's what we call that yo-yoing, right? So the intermittent positive reinforcement between the abuse is what creates that high, that jolt, right? And then the abuse creates the low. So if you talk to a person who's experienced these types of relationships, the first thing you'll notice is that there's breaking up, making up, breaking up, making up. So God. I would say, first of all, it's emotionally exhausting and depleting.
It is. Holy shit, isn't it?
Yes.
I remember, like the first time I told this guy it was over, he stood up and said, fine, you want your old life back? Fine. And he walked out of the door. And I suddenly kind of burst into tears and then ran to the door. And as he was walking away, I was screaming and yelling and begging him to come back.
Oh, I've been through that. Yeah, it's very painful. There's a lot of pain in these types of relationships. Yes, I completely relate and understand, and it's really difficult. So that's why I said the first step is to educate yourself. Okay. And it also, these back and forth yo-yoing also, it creates chemical like imbalances in our brain, like it hits our serotonin levels, right, which is our happy hormone. So there's a chemical reaction that these types of people create within our bodies. But the important thing to understand is that it stems from low self-esteem. So we don't really care about the narcissist's low self-esteem. What we do care is about ours. Okay, so how to leave. So I would say not only how to leave, but how to stay away is a really important question.
Yeah, because that was actually kind of, see, you're going through my questions without me even telling you what my questions are. Because my next one is, what's the best way to deal with a narcissist while you're in the process of leaving that relationship, and even afterwards? How do you stay out? Because I was
good
out
question.
and then in, and then out and then in, and then out and then in, and then like the last time I was out, I really was out. And when he came back the last time, I called the police.
Well, good for you. I love that.
It was just, I mean, seriously, I'm sitting here sitting on my hands, because it felt like making that phone call was all I could possibly do. It even moved, lump in the throat now.
Yeah, I hear you.
It was all I could do, because I didn't know how else to tell him to, lose it.
It's terrifying. It's terrifying. Yeah. It's really, really scary.
I mean, I'd given him thousands of pounds. I'd, put deposits down on places for him to go live. I'd bought him furniture. I can't move there. I don't even have a bed to sleep on. So I bought him a bed, and I bought, the money that rushed out of my bank account. And then I just got to the point where I was just exhausted. And I really wish that I had known someone like you then. Because it was like, I
probably would have been in the same boat. That version of me would have been where you are. I don't think we would have been much help to each other.
Probably not. But you now, and me then. But yeah. So how do you do that? Staying clear, staying out. I mean, I know you said, what was it? Block,
delete, block, remove.
Yeah.
Right. So we're going to lead to what you want to do is lead. That's your goal. Look, it's not about time, about giving yourself time to make a decision. It's about making the decision. Excuse me. Once you make the decision, time is on your side. Okay, because it's the equivalent to cigarette smoking. Okay, so there are various ways you can heal, okay? There's not one way, there's many ways. The way I chose to heal is join a support group called CODA, Codependent Anonymous, which is a 12-step program, okay? So the 12-step program is great for people pleasers and over-accommodators and codependents like myself. And what it teaches you is it focuses on the addiction, okay? So it looks like they help you see it as an addiction. So the first thing to an addiction for an addict is you remove the temptation, you remove it. They have to be outside of your life. You can't see them, you can't talk to them, you can't converse with them. It has to be minimal, okay? So like I said, because it's very hard to do that, these types of relationships are very difficult to come out of, and it is a process. There's no easy, quick answer. There isn't. I'm going to be honest. There isn't. So I would say if you're in it, if you're living with someone, educate yourself, build awareness around the topic. There's a great article that you can look up. It's called The Dance Between Codependents and Narcissists by Ross Rosenberg.
Ross Rosenberg.
The Dance Between Codependents and Narcissists.
I'll put all of this information, by the way,
yes,
either on the, on the what's the thingy, on the
yes,
recording Facebook, and
yes,
when on Solution Bank, we'll have all of that in there. So don't worry about taking notes.
yes. So I'm not going to get into that article because it gets very technical and heavy and psychological. There's another one that you can read up is trauma bonds. So these types of relations are trauma bonds. So
Yes.
I'm not going to go into that either. It's kind of probably a whole other topic in live, but they do constitute as trauma bonds. It has to do with some form of unhealed trauma that you have. And it's kind of like we reenact it to get the validation we didn't get from some person in the past, right? It's either your mother or your father. So when you do...
This is the work that I do with parts work,
yes.
And then sometimes you can find a part, when you're doing parts work, you find this little frozen in time version of you, and
yes,
as soon as you meet her, it's like, oh, and it's like your whole head lights up with a whole flipping light, rainbow of light. It's like, holy shit, now it all makes sense. And sometimes it's like your whole life makes sense because you found that part that didn't get that need met. But is there a I mean, I know you said there isn't a single process, but could you give us like a quick potted example of, if everything went right, a step-by-step how you get out of it?
Okay. Well, depending on your scenario, if you're living with him, move out. Okay. Get support from friends. Heal. So you need to do the work as well. You need to either go to do the therapy, go to a coach, counseling, support group is fantastic. Okay. Support group. So the first thing I would say is educate yourself. The second step I would say is build self-awareness, which will erase your denial. Okay. You need to come out of denial and understand that this isn't love, it's toxic attachment. Okay. The third step I would say is heal, which is the work. Okay. The work, you need support. You can't do it alone. Okay. This is a really important part of it. And learn to self-love. It's really important for people pleasers and over accommodators to learn to self-love because they have really low self-esteem. Okay. And this is where the healing takes place. Once you learn to self-love, you need to regain your self-esteem so you can start setting consistent, firm, assertive boundaries. The more consistent and assertive that you are with the narcissist, the more it will deter them from chasing you. Does that make sense?
I think for me, that's why I got the police involved, because I just could not create a boundary.
Yes.
Every time he came back, it was like I couldn't. I don't know why I couldn't at the time. I mean, I know now, but at the time, I had no idea why I kept letting him in. Why did I keep letting him in? I mean, it's one of those questions that has like no sensible, understandable answer. So on that day when I'd really like had enough, I thought, right, I can't throw down a boundary here. So I phoned 999 And I lied to them. I told them that I was locked in my room and that I was scared to come out because my ex, my severely controlling and coercive abuse ex, was in my home and I was too scared to come out of my room.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that while I was in the loo. I literally went to the loo while he sat in the kitchen waiting for me to make him a cuppa. And I'm thinking, yeah, hang on, I just need to go pee. Right. So I flew downstairs, made this call, came back upstairs, and I tried not to do eye contact with him because he had this like magical thing where he'd look at me and then he'd tip his head and I'd just fall into it again. It was like, stop. So no, tried not to do eye contact, kept my eyes out of the kitchen window. And the moment I saw the police coming, I went into another room, shut the door and wedged it with my foot. He was like, what are you doing? And I went, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what I'm doing. Yes, but what are you doing? What are you doing? And then he was like, there's police at the door. What have you done? What have you done? Kind of screaming. And because the police then came in, one of them, lovely man, I still remember his face today, came to my door, like the door that I was behind, and he said, there's police here now. You're safe to come out. And I said, but I don't want to come out. I don't want to come out because he's going to twist it all around and I just want him out of my home. Just want him out of my home. And then he said, then, you know, my ex said, oh, but this is my home too. At which point I already had, this is so twisted. I can't believe I'm telling this live, but I actually had an envelope in the bottom of my t-shirt drawer with documents proving that I owned the home, the date that he moved in and all of that kind of information, all written out on a piece of paper, signed in an envelope, and I slipped it through the side of the door. And when the policeman looked at it, he said, okay, this guy does actually have a history of abusing women.
Oh, wow.
The mother of his boy had thrown him out for narcissistic abuse, which then got physical. And so they put him in cuffs and took him away. And I couldn't have been more pleased. It was amazing because then every time he came back, I could just call the police again. It was like I was given my life back because I could then call the police, and that became my boundary because I was unable to do it myself. You know, hitting 999 and going, you know, this person is he's at my door right now. He's outside my house right now. And I think it was about the third time that I called the police. The guy actually told me that this man's name was like on a red list, so that they would never turn up with less than 3 policemen to a call where his name was mentioned.
Wow.
So yeah, but I mean, I got out of it eventually. But what kind of advice would you? I mean, I know it's all in my distant past, but literally recanting it gets my whole body anxious. You know, I can feel my forehead perspiring and my hands are kind of itchy. And I mean, I'm not going to lie. For those of you watching, I know how to regulate my nervous system at this point, but I want you to hear what Christina has to say to me right now.
About regulating your nervous system.
About regulating my nervous system. Yeah. Because I'm literally sitting here allowing myself to be thoroughly agitated.
Oh, you know how to do it. I'm going to tell you. I already know. If you're triggered, so it's a trigger. It's a trauma trigger, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So how I work with my clients who have a relationship trauma or childhood trauma is the breath work. I mean, the breath work that you teach is amazing. A form of meditation, but the breathing really regulates the nervous system. Okay, like what's it called? The really quick breathing, which is what I do, like that, the in and out. Yes, fire breath, I think it's called fire breath. That really helps. But knowing that you're triggered, you can't be mindful when you're triggered. So it's like an SOS for you. It's a red flag for you. You come first. Do not try and have a conversation when you're triggered. It's impossible. It's just going to make everything worse. So regulate the nervous system, get into the right state, which is breathing. This is what I do. I breathe, I meditate, and the most important thing is to move your body. And this is what I was taught. You have to move your body. It has to be something, go out for a run, go exercising, jump up and down, dance, do something that's going to really move your body.
Absolutely. And it's that rhythmic movement as well, I find personally very helpful. I mean, because I don't allow my body to suffer like that, I was kind of regulating my bottom half while allowing my top half to get a little bit freaked out. So my bottom half, my feet are tapping like this on the ground, and I'm very aware of like my weight on the chair, you know, that down up, because there's the equal and opposite force thing. And I actually find that really reassuring, that it's not just my weight sitting in the chair, it's the power of the chair to hold me. So it helps me to feel held. I also make a point of closing my mouth, breathing through my nose, starting off as fast as I need to, and consciously slowing down. And then when I've kind of got my SH1T together, I'll then go for a walk.
Another great exercise is, because when you're in your trauma, when you've been triggered, you're not in the present moment. You're somewhere way back then. So what happens is you're disassociated. So a great exercise is to work. There's a little exercise that you can do, is to work with the senses. So 5 senses. You choose 5 things that you can see, 5 things that you can see, 5
so
things
it's like
that
curtain, purple peacock, ring light,
yes,
my spare glasses, my water bottle, and my greenhouse.
And the seat that I'm sitting on, and 5 things that you can feel, right?
Yeah, so I can feel my weight, and I can feel my shoes wrapped around my feet, and I can feel my hands rubbing together, and I can feel my hair on my cheekbones.
Yes. 5 things that you can hear. What do you hear?
What can I hear? I can hear the fan on my computer. I can hear my next door neighbors taking tile off the wall, which is another reason why I love this, by the way, because even though they are literally taking tile off the wall there, you can't hear it. What else can I hear?
Your voice.
Yes, I can hear me. I can hear you. I can usually hear the dog snoring, but you can't even see him. He's laying on the sofa here. He has to be mentioned in every single one of my lives, the dog.
Buddy, right?
And most of my coaching sessions as well. You know, when you work with me, at some point or another, there's going to be a dog sitting here with his backside on my cleavage, a tail across my shoulder, swooshing around, and me trying to reach the mouse, which is why I have a cordless mouse. Yes, the things you do for dogs. So yeah, so that's here. Have I done everything now? See?
No, 5 things you can smell.
Smell. I can smell my rose diffuser. I can almost smell the lemon in my I've got this these lovely little tablet things that I drop into water with electrolytes in. So it's almost like I can smell the lemon. I certainly can if I smell my lemon. I can smell my perfume. Oh, and I can smell the daffodils. I've got daffodils on a little side table.
Oh, lovely.
I can smell those. So yeah, actually, I'm feeling better already, because I'm no longer thinking mentally about that.
Exactly.
I'm now back in this moment.
It's a cognitive exercise because it's in the mind. And another thing is, and then 5 things you can taste, but another really good exercise is cold water immersion. We've talked about this. Yes, I think I remember you saying you go out in the garden barefoot. That's another good, but some people
if it's in the winter, by the way,
especially if it's in the winter. Yes,
it's
the
like
cold
on my feet
shocks. Yes, some people dive into the ocean and it's freezing. Tony Robbins does that. It's his daily practice. He goes into a tank with freezing water every single day, if you've heard his practice. And people who
as
have
much as I love Tony Robbins, the guy is a nut job. I mean, seriously, who would do that to themselves? I struggle
He's
with
the
that.
most kindest, amazing person I've ever met. I've done
Have you met him?
Online, not in live, but I've promised myself on a bucket list, I'm going to go to one of his lives. He's the most kindest person. I mean, anyway, no, let's not talk about Tony Robbins.
We're not talking about Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I want to kind of leave everybody with is that, you know, when you were talking about education and finding a support group and all that kind of stuff, for me, there's one thing that comes before that.
Okay.
And that's like this little subconscious switch. When you realize, when you suddenly think, shit, he's a narcissist. I'm a victim. I need to do something. It's kind of like an awareness switch. Because up to that point where you, for me anyway, up to that point where that relationship becomes toxic, it's not toxic. It's just difficult.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You see what I mean? So for me, you know, if someone comes to me and says, "Oh, my partner's a bit of a narcissist," you know, it's all right though. It's fine. It's all right. It's fine. It's all right. It's fine. You've got denial going on in buckets there, and to just have that, you know, allow yourself to change your mind. Just allow it, I think, is what I would like to say to people, you know. And then because as a scapegoat, as that downtrodden person who holds all of the pain for yourself and for the narcissist in your life, the moment you make that choice, because you do have the power to make that choice, as hard as it seems, you have that.
You have to believe you have the power. And that's where the denial, it's like once you have awareness, it's like opening Pandora's box. It makes it very difficult to live in the bubble. You can't live in the bubble once you have awareness. Once you know that but I love him, I hear. It's not love. It will literally destroy you, your health, your mental health, and your physical health. There's physical symptoms.
I saw one of those little thingamies on Instagram, or it might have been a YouTube short with a really lovely psychologist whose name I don't know, but when I see her face, I just have to watch it. I think she's of Indian descent. She certainly has an Indian sounding name, and her accent is not American. So it's kind of like an English Indian accent. Anyway, she's wonderful. She was saying that when you ask someone who's in a relationship with a narcissist, you know, why do you love him? They usually say things like, "Oh, we have this deep connection."
I've seen that. I've seen that.
This magical something or other, you know. And that's why I posted it in my, pretty sure I've got the notes here. Hang on a second. I'm just going to scroll because I'm pretty sure I put it in my Monday post. Yes, why do you love this person? And this is a direct quote from her. If your answer goes something like, "I don't know, it's different, it's complicated. We have a special something between us, a deep connection. It's kind of magical, surprising, amazing." Yeah. And then she literally looks at the camera and goes, "You, my dear, are in a trauma bonded relationship." Because when you have a real, decent, healthy relationship, you say things like, "We have stuff in common. We respect each other. We have shared values. We enjoy time together and
it's
apart.
concrete.
I feel safe with him." Yeah,
exactly. Yep.
And you don't feel safe with a narcissist. That's the last thing you say. You know, if you are listening to this recording and you think you might be in a trauma bonded relationship, just stop for a second and ask yourself, do you feel safe?
Exactly. Spot on.
And if you don't, educate yourself. I'm reading your words now. Educate yourself, become aware, because that will help you fight the denial. Find a support group and get help in healing.
Have a friend, preferably a male friend that you can call, because these people have zero boundaries, so they may very well show up at your door. So have a person you can call that's going to help you, protect you. That was really because if you don't feel safe, I think women need friends and men and people that they feel safe with, that they can call.
Yeah,
Family,
like I
friends.
said, for me, he had isolated me so well from all of my family and friends.
But yes,
I had no one to call.
they
The
do
only
that.
number I had to call was 999. It's the only number I had to call.
That's what they do. They isolate.
Dangerous.
I think about it and it makes my skin crawl, honestly.
Yeah.
It's terrible. It's terrible.
Yeah,
so
I really enjoyed talking about this subject.
Me too.
And yeah, we'll find another subject to bring Christina back on. She's a brilliant relationship coach. And as soon as I mentioned to her that I was going to be talking about narcissism this week, it was like, that is my favorite subject. But it's weird. It's like, when coaches talk to each other like that, it's not that it's our favorite subject in a, I love this, right?
Yes.
I love talking about it. It's something that fires me up. It's something that when you talk to someone who's a victim of a narcissist, even if you just give them 20 minutes of safety, it fires us coaches up. It really does.
Yes. Another characteristic of, if when I talk to women on my coaching sessions and their answer is, I haven't been in a relationship in over 4 years, my first question is, have you been in a trauma bonded relationship with a narcissist? If that's the first indication, when they've stayed alone, if you see a woman that stayed alone for a really long time, she's been alone for a really long time, it's probably because she's still trying to get over that narcissist.
Absolutely. But there is help out there. There's people there's people like you. There's all sorts of things. And I'm going to ask Christina to write down that thing about the dance and Rosenberg and I think it was a book about trauma bonding. But anyway, if Christina, if you could provide me with all of that, I'd like to put that in.
I will.
So that it's easy for people to find.
Yes.
This live will be posted in the Facebook group probably in the next couple of days. And it's just available for people in my group. And then when it gets, edited and tidied up and whatnot, mind you, I don't think we swore, did we? I don't think we swore. I think I might have gone hell or something at some point, but anyway, we'll get it on my solution bank as well, and then I'll make sure that that link is available to your people. Okay. Did
that little exercise help you? Just wanted to ask.
It did actually. Because the way that I bring myself back to the moment is I do it with my hands. I go, right, that's the future, that's the past, that's the future, that's the past, that's the future, that's the past, that's the future. And then I'm just in this moment, in this body, and I repeat it. It's almost like a meditation thing. And I try and exist in the gap between my hands, just in this moment, in this moment, in this moment. And I push my hands together. It's it kind of tells my body that I'm safe. I've got all kinds of neat ways of communicating with my body.
I have too. I've just thought about another one, but fine.
Anyway, let's stop for now. It's been lovely spending time with you, Christina. Let's do
lovely.
This again.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Bye for now, everybody.